The gravy boat was sterling silver. It had been in his family for 4 generations. My mother-in-law, Eleanor, had polished it herself that morning. I knew that because she told me 3 times while I was trying to get the green bean casserole into the oven. The gravy was thick and brown, and it sat in that boat like a king on a throne, and my husband, Michael, picked it up with his right hand and passed it to his cousin without looking at me. My son, Leo, was 14. He had been in that wheelchair for 3 years, 11 months, and 8 days. I counted every single one of them, not because I was bitter, but because I had to. The doctors told us the first year was critical, and then the second year was critical, and then they stopped using that word and started using words like manage and adapt and lifestyle adjustments. Leo's hands were in his lap. His fingers curled inward, the way they always did when he was tired. He had been tired since we walked in the door at 11 that morning. Eleanor's house was not wheelchair accessible. She had a ramp, but it was wooden and warped, and I had to push Leo up it with my thighs burning and my palms sweating against the grips. Michael walked ahead of us. He carried the sweet potato pie. The dining room had 32 people in it. I counted them because I needed something to do with my eyes while Eleanor made her rounds. She wore a navy blue dress with gold buttons. Her hair was silver and stiff, like a helmet. She kissed cheeks and squeezed shoulders and told everyone how happy she was to have the family together. She did not kiss Leo. She pat his head once, the way you pat a dog that you are not sure is friendly. I saw her fingers hesitate over his hair. She did not let them land. Leo was positioned at the end of the table, near the door to the kitchen. That was not an accident. Eleanor had told me to put him there when we arrived. It's easier for everyone, dear. He can come and go as he needs. I did not argue because I had learned, over 17 years of marriage, that arguing with Eleanor was like arguing with a brick wall that had a better vocabulary and a sharper memory for your mistakes. Michael set down the pie and found a seat next to his mother. That was his seat. He had been sitting there since he was a boy, and I knew he would never move it, even if the house was on fire. He would sit in that chair and burn with the mahogany. I sat next to Leo. I always sat next to Leo. I had not eaten a hot meal in 3 years, 11 months, and 8 days. I did not mind. I had learned to eat cold food over Leo's shoulder while he watched cartoons, and I had learned to eat it fast so I could go back to him faster. Tonight, I cut his turkey into small pieces, the way he liked it, the way he could still manage to get a fork to his mouth if he concentrated. His arm shook sometimes. The fork would wobble and the turkey would fall, and I would pick it up and put it back on his plate and pretend I had not seen him blink too fast, his eyes wet. We had a system. I did not need Eleanor to comment on it. But Eleanor was not a woman who needed to comment. She was a woman who made statements. She stood up from her chair at the head of the table. She had a glass of Chardonnay in her left hand. Her right hand was empty, and she pointed with it. She pointed directly at Leo. Her finger was long and bony, and the nail was painted a shade of rose that I had once admired on a different woman, in a different life, when I still had time to notice nail polish. "Leo," she said. Her voice was not loud. It did not need to be. The room was quiet. 32 people, and they all turned their heads, and their forks stopped moving, and their mouths stopped chewing. "I think it would be better if you ate in the kitchen tonight." I felt my throat tighten. It was a physical thing, like a hand wrapping around my windpipe. I could not swallow. I put down my knife. Leo looked up at her. His eyes were dark, like Michael's. Like his grandmother's, actually, but nobody said that. "I'm okay here, Grandma," he said. His voice was soft. It was soft because his lungs did not work as well as they used to. He had to take small breaths. "I fine." "I didn't ask if you were fine," Eleanor said. She smiled. It was a smile that did not touch her eyes. Her eyes were cold and bright, like the ice in her glass. "I'm thinking of the other guests. Your condition. It makes people uncomfortable. They don't want to say it, but I will. I'm the matriarch. It's my job to think of everyone's comfort. The kitchen is perfectly nice. There's a small table in there. You can eat with your mother if you'd like." I looked at Michael. He was sitting next to his mother. His hand was on the gravy boat. The gravy boat was still full because nobody had taken any more gravy since the turkey was carved. Michael's fingers were wrapped around the handle. He looked at his plate. He looked at the gravy. He looked at his cousin, who was staring at him with wide eyes.
He did not look at me.
He did not look at Leo. I waited. I counted to 5 in my head. 1 Mississippi. 2 Mississippi. 3.
4.
5. Michael picked up the gravy boat. He passed it to his cousin. Anyone want more?
He said.
His voice was light. It was the voice he used when he was pretending everything was normal. It was the voice he used when his mother made a comment about my weight, or my job, or the fact that I had not given her a granddaughter. It was the voice he used when he was a coward. My ears started ringing. It was a high-pitched noise, like a smoke alarm in a different room. I could not hear anything else except that ring. I could see mouths moving. I could see Leo's face going pale. I could see the guests looking at their plates, at the ceiling, at anything but the boy in the wheelchair. They did not want to see. They never wanted to see. I stood up. My chair scraped against the hardwood floor. It made a sound like a scream. Everyone flinched. I did not care. I walked around the table to Leo. My legs were shaking. My knees felt like they were made of water. I put my hands on the grips of his wheelchair. They were cold. They were always cold. Come on, baby, I said. My voice was steady.
I did not know how.
I felt like I was screaming, but I was not. My voice was quiet. It was the quiet you get when you are so angry that you go past the place where your voice can go loud. You go past it, and you come out the other side, and you are calm. The calm is the worst part. The calm means you are not fighting anymore. The calm means you are done. Leo looked up at me. His eyes were wet. He blinked. Mom, it's okay, I said. We're leaving. Eleanor laughed. It was a small laugh, like a champagne cork. Oh, don't be dramatic, Claire. I'm not asking him to leave the house. I'm just asking for some common courtesy. The kitchen has a television. He can watch the football game. I did not answer her. I pushed the wheelchair toward the front door. It was heavy. The wheels dragged on the carpet. Michael was still sitting at the table. I could see him out of the corner of my eye. He had not moved. He was still holding the gravy boat. His fingers were still wrapped around the handle. I wanted to take that boat and pour the gravy over his head. I wanted to dump it on his mother's perfect silver hair. I wanted to throw it through the window that overlooked the backyard where Michael had played as a boy, where he had learned to throw a baseball, where he had learned to be a man who could not stand up for his own son. I did none of those things. I pushed the wheelchair through the door. I pushed it down the warped wooden ramp. My thighs burned. My palms sweated. I did not stop. I loaded Leo into the car. I put the wheelchair in the trunk. I got in the driver's seat. I did not look back at the house. The windows were lit. The lights were warm and yellow, and they looked like the lights of a place where happy people lived. I had lived there once. I had lived there in my head, in the imaginary house I built when I married Michael. In that house, we had family dinners and no one pointed at anyone. In that house, Michael passed the green beans and said, "Mom, that's not appropriate." In that house, I was not driving away with my son and a cold turkey leg wrapped in a napkin because I had not eaten dinner and my stomach was growling. Leo was quiet in the passenger seat. His head was against the window. The glass fogged with his breath. I pulled out of the driveway. The gravel crunched under the tires. I drove to the Waffle House on Peachtree Street because it was the only place I could think of that would be open and where the floor was flat and the door was wide enough for a wheelchair, though he sat in a booth. I helped Leo slide into the seat. I put his chair in the corner. The waitress did not stare. She brought us coffee. She brought us waffles. She asked Leo if he wanted extra syrup, and he nodded, and she brought him 2 little plastic cups. She did not ask why we were there, and I did not tell her. I cut his waffles into small pieces. I watched him eat. His arms shook. The fork wobbled. A piece of waffle fell on the table, and I picked it up and put it back on his plate. He blinked too fast. I pretended I had not seen. "Mom," he said. His voice was soft. "Are we going back?" "No," I said, "to the house. We're not going back, baby." He nodded. He ate another piece of waffle. The syrup was warm and sweet. I took a bite of my own waffle.
It was cold by then.
The butter had congealed. I ate it anyway. It tasted like ashes. I did not care. After we ate, I drove to the only other place I could think of. It was not a place I had planned to go. It was not a place I wanted to go. But I went there because I had no other choice. I drove to my office. I had a small office in a strip mall near the interstate. I ran a financial consulting business. I had a filing cabinet. In that filing cabinet, I had a folder. The folder was thick. It was manila. The edges were worn. I had not looked at it in 2 years. I pulled it out. I opened it. The papers inside were crisp. The ink was dark. It was the trust documents. Michael's father had died 5 years ago. He had left a trust. The trust was for Michael and his sister and their children. It was a substantial amount of money. I had not thought about it much because it was not my money. It was Michael's family's money. I had signed papers because Eleanor had asked me to. She had asked me to sign a document that said I understood the trust would be distributed according to Michael's father's wishes. I had signed it without reading it. I was tired that day. I had been up all night with Leo. He had a fever. His lungs were working too hard. I signed the document so I could go back to the hospital. I read it now. I read it carefully. I read the words that Eleanor had buried on page 14. The trust was not being distributed equally. It was being distributed according to Michael's mother's recommendations. And Eleanor had recommended that Leo's share be placed in a separate fund. A fund that she controlled. A fund that could be used for the child's medical expenses. But the medical expenses were not the full amount. The full amount was much larger. The rest of it would go to Michael's sister's children, to his cousin's children, to anyone but Leo. I read it again. My eyes were dry. My hands were shaking. I remembered the day I signed it. Eleanor had brought me a cup of coffee. She had patted my shoulder. She had said, "Don't worry about this, dear. It's just paperwork. You have enough on your plate." I had believed her. I had believed her because she was my mother-in-law, and I had believed, with the same stupidity that made me marry a man who passed gravy while his son was humiliated, that family took care of family, that I took out my phone. I dialed a number I had saved but never used. It was the number of a lawyer, a woman named Patricia Granger. I had met her at a Chamber of Commerce event. She had given me her card and said, "If you ever need anything, call me." She was a divorce attorney. She was also a trust and estates attorney. She was expensive. I did not care. She answered on the second ring. "Patricia Granger." "Patricia, this is Claire. Claire Bennett. We met at the Chamber event last spring. I remember you. What can I do for you?" I looked at the folder in my hand. I looked at the papers. I looked at the name of my son, printed in black ink, next to a number that was much smaller than the numbers next to the other names. "I need you to look at something," I said. "I need you to tell me if I have any legal recourse." "Against whom?" "My mother-in-law," I said. "And maybe my husband." There was a pause on the other end. I could hear Patricia breathing. She was a calm woman. She did not get upset. "Can you come in tomorrow morning? I'll be there," I said. I hung up the phone. I sat in my office chair. The building was dark. The parking lot was empty. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator. I could hear the ticking of the clock on the wall. I was alone. I was alone, and I was calm. The calm was back. I had gone past the anger. I had gone past the crying. I was in a place I had never been before. I was in a place where I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was going to take everything Eleanor had. I was going to take it legally. I was going to take it by the law. I was going to take it in such a way that she could not fight back because there would be no fight. There would only be paperwork. There would only be evidence. I had the evidence. I had not known I had it, but I had been collecting it for years. I had kept every receipt. I had kept every bank statement. I had kept every email. I had kept every text message. I had kept them because I was a financial consultant and I was used to keeping records. I had not kept them for revenge. I had kept them because I thought someday I would need them for taxes. I would need them for something else now. I drove home with the folder on the passenger seat. The manila edges caught the glow of every streetlight I passed. I kept my hands at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel. My knuckles were white. I noticed them only when I turned into our driveway and had to pry my fingers loose, one by one, to put the car in park. The house was dark. Michael was still at his mother's. I did not check my phone to see if he had called. I already knew he had not that I carried the folder inside. I carried it to the kitchen table. I spread the papers out under the hanging light. The bulb was 60 watts. It hummed. I had meant to replace it 3 months ago. I had not gotten around to it. I was always not getting around to things. I was always too tired, too busy, too distracted by Leo's breathing, his medication schedule, the physical therapy appointments that took up every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. I had not gotten around to a lot of things. I was getting around to this one now. The trust document was 12 pages. I read each page 3 times. The first time, I read it fast, looking for the number next to Leo's name. I found it on page 7. It was small. It was a number that would pay for his medical supplies for maybe 2 years. The second time, I read it slowly, looking for Eleanor's name. I found it on page 4, page 9, and page 14. She was listed as the trustee. She had the power to distribute funds at her sole discretion. The third time, I read it with a pen in my hand. I underlined every mention of medical expenses. I circled every mention of sole discretion. I drew a line through the signature page. My signature was there. It was small and cramped. I had signed it in a hospital waiting room. I remembered the pen. It had been a cheap ballpoint from the reception desk. The ink was blue. It had smudged because I was crying. Not sobbing. Just crying. The quiet kind. The kind where tears fall on the paper and you blot them with your sleeve. I folded the document and put it back in the folder. I opened my laptop. I pulled up the bank records I had downloaded over the years. I was a financial consultant. I saved everything. I saved spreadsheets for clients. I saved spreadsheets for myself. I had a folder on my desktop labeled Household. Inside that folder, there were subfolders for every year. Inside each subfolder, there were bank statements, credit card statements, tax returns, receipts for every major purchase. I had never thought I would need them. I had never thought I would be this kind of woman. I was the kind of woman who kept receipts because she was organized, not because she was planning a war. I started cross-referencing. I pulled up the trust account number. I had it because Eleanor had sent me a statement once, accidentally, attached to an email about Thanksgiving planning. I had not deleted it. I had not read it carefully either. I had skimmed it and closed it and gone back to planning the green bean casserole. I opened it now. I read every line. The statement was from 2 years ago. The balance was substantial. More than substantial. It was the kind of money that could pay for Leo's college, his physical therapy for the rest of his life, a modified van, a house with a proper ramp and wide doorways. It was the kind of money that would let me sleep at night. I pulled up the recent statements. I had access to them because the account was in Michael's name and my name was on the joint checking account. I had not known I could access the trust statements. I had never tried. I tried now. The login worked. The password was the same password Michael used for everything. His mother's maiden name. Eleanor's maiden name. Baker. He had never changed it. He had never been careful. He had never had to be at the screen loaded. I scrolled down. The balance was less than half of what it had been 2 years ago. I scrolled back up. I looked at the transaction history. I saw transfers. Large transfers. Transfers to accounts I did not recognize. Transfers to Eleanor's personal account. Transfers to accounts labeled Grandchildren Education Fund. That account was not Leo's. Leo's name was not on it. I clicked on the details. The fund was for Michael's sister's 3 children. Their names were listed. Their school tuition was listed. Their summer camp expenses were listed. They went to camp in Maine. They had horseback riding lessons. They had new backpacks every August. I closed my laptop. I pressed my palms flat on the table. The wood was warm. The light hummed above me. I heard Leo's door creak. He was asleep. He was always asleep by 9. The medications made him tired. He slept deeply, the kind of sleep that looked peaceful but was not, because I knew he woke up gasping sometimes, his lungs too weak to pull in enough air. I had a monitor in his room. It beeped when his oxygen dropped. I had not heard it beep in 2 weeks. I knocked on the wood of the table. 3 times. An old habit. A superstitious habit. I had a lot of habits now. They were the things that got me through. I pulled out my phone. Patricia had sent me a text message. See you at 9 a.m. Bring everything. I typed back, yes, and put the phone down. I went to Leo's room. I stood in the doorway. The nightlight was shaped like a dinosaur. He had loved dinosaurs before he got sick. He still loved them. He had a collection of plastic dinosaurs on a shelf. They were dusty. I had not dusted in 3 weeks. I did not care. I watched his chest rise and fall. It rose slowly. It fell slowly. I counted. 15 breaths in 1 minute. That was normal. That was good. I let out a breath I had not known I was holding. In the morning, I made Leo oatmeal. I added cinnamon and brown sugar. He liked it sweet. I cut up a banana. I put it in a bowl. I placed the bowl on a tray attached to his wheelchair. He could reach it. He could eat it without my help. He had been working on that for 6 months. I watched him pick up the spoon. His hand shook. The oatmeal sloshed but did not spill. He took a bite. He swallowed. He looked at me. Mom, he said. Are you okay? I smiled. It was a small smile. It was real. I'm fine, baby. You're doing that thing with your mouth. What thing? The thing where you're smiling but your eyes are not smiling. I stopped smiling. I sat down across from him. I put my hands on the table. I'm going to see a lawyer today. His spoon stopped moving. A lawyer? Why? Because of what your grandmother did. What your father did. What they've been doing for a long time. Leo looked down at his oatmeal. He pushed it around with the spoon. The cinnamon swirled in the milk. Are you going to divorce Dad?
I paused.
I had not planned to say it yet. I had not planned to say it at all. Not like this. Not over oatmeal. Yes, I said. I think I am. He nodded. He did not cry. He did not look surprised. He kept pushing the oatmeal. He doesn't talk to me, he said. Not really. He talks to me like I'm 5. Like I don't understand things. I know, I said. He never helped with the ramp. Grandma told him to build it, and he said he would, and he never did. I know, baby. I'm not sad, he said. He looked up at me. His eyes were dark. They were not wet. I'm not sad. I'm just tired. I'm tired of being in the way. I reached across the table. I took his hand. His fingers curled around mine. They were cold. They were always cold. You are not in the way, I said. You have never been in the way. You are the only thing that matters. You are the only thing that has ever mattered. He squeezed my hand. His grip was weak. It was stronger than it had been a year ago. It was progress. We measured progress in tiny increments. A half-second longer on the grip. A fork that did not fall. A breath that did not stutter. I would take any progress. I would fight for any progress. I would fight for him until my hands bled. I left Leo with the neighbor. She was a retired nurse. Her name was Helen. She had a ramp on her house too. She had a husband who had used a wheelchair before he died. She knew how to handle the transfer from the chair to the bed. She knew how to adjust the straps. She knew how to talk to Leo like he was a person, not a condition. I trusted her. I trusted her more than I trusted my husband. That was a sentence I had never thought I would think. Patricia's office was on the 4th floor. The elevator was slow. It smelled like cleaning solution and old carpet. I walked to her door. She was waiting for me. She had coffee in a ceramic mug. It had a crack in the rim. I noticed the crack because I notice things now. I noticed everything. I sat down. I opened the folder. I took out the trust document. I took out the bank statements. I took out the printed emails. I took out the handwritten notes I had made it to in the morning. I laid them all out on her desk. She watched me. She did not interrupt. She waited until I was done. Eleanor is the trustee, I said. She has sole discretion. She has transferred more than half the money to accounts for her other grandchildren. She's been doing it for 2 years. Michael knew. He had to know. He had access to the same statements. He never told me. He never asked. He just let her do it. Patricia picked up the trust document. She read page 14. She read it twice. She set it down. This is not a valid trust, she said. Not in its current form. I blinked. What? The way it's written, Eleanor has too much power. But the original intent, from your father-in-law, was to divide the estate equally among all grandchildren. That's in the preamble. I need to find the original. The one your father-in-law signed before he died. Do you have it? I shook my head. Eleanor has it. Patricia leaned back. We can subpoena it. We can get a copy from the probate court. But we need to move fast. If she's transferred money out of the account, we need to freeze it. She might try to move more.
She will, I said.
She knows I'm angry. She knows I walked out of that dinner. She might not know what I'm planning, but she knows I'm not going to sit quietly. Patricia nodded. She made a note on her yellow pad. Her handwriting was small and neat. I'll file a motion to freeze the trust account today. I'll also file a motion to have Eleanor removed as trustee. We'll cite mismanagement and breach of fiduciary duty. It will take time, but we have a strong case. I leaned forward. What about Michael? What about our joint accounts? What about the house? Patricia looked at me. Her eyes were steady. What do you want? I want to protect Leo. I want to make sure he gets what he's entitled to. I want to make sure Eleanor cannot touch it. I want to make sure Michael cannot touch it. I want to separate everything. I want to be free of them. Patricia wrote another note. She did not look up. I'll draft the separation papers today. I'll include a request for full financial disclosure. We need to see all of Michael's accounts. I suspect Eleanor has been moving money to him as well. She might have set up accounts in his name that you don't know about. My stomach turned. I had not thought of that. I had not thought of the possibility that Michael was not just a passive observer. I had thought he was weak. I had thought he was spineless. I had not thought he was actively involved. I had not thought he was taking money from his own son. I felt the coffee churn in my stomach. I pressed my hand to my abdomen. Do you think he knew? Patricia put down her pen. I don't know, but I'm going to find out. That's what the financial disclosure is for. If he has accounts he hasn't told you about, we'll find them. If he's been hiding money, we'll find it. You have a right to know. You have a right to half of everything. And Leo has a right to more than he's getting. I nodded. I could not speak. My throat was tight again. The same tightness I had felt at the dinner table. The same hand around my windpipe. I swallowed. It hurt. Patricia stood up. She walked around her desk. She put her hand on my shoulder. You're doing the right thing, she said. You're protecting your son. That's all that matters. I looked up at her. I don't know who I am anymore, I said. I used to be a wife. I used to be a daughter-in-law. I used to smile and make casseroles and keep the peace. I don't know who I am now. Patricia squeezed my shoulder. You're a mother, she said. You've always been a mother. You just forgot the rest of it. Now you're remembering. I drove home with a new folder. It had Patricia's notes inside. It had a copy of the motion she had filed. It had a receipt for the filing fee. I put it on the passenger seat next to the manila folder. I drove carefully. I did not speed. I did not cry. I pulled into my driveway and saw a car I did not recognize. It was a black sedan. It was parked in front of the house. I parked behind it. I got out. The front door was open. I walked inside. Leo was in the living room. He was watching television. Helen was in the kitchen. She was holding a cup of tea. She looked at me. Her eyes were wide.
Claire, she said.
Your mother-in-law is here. I turned. Eleanor was standing in the dining room. She was still wearing the navy blue dress. She had a handbag over her arm. She looked at me. She did not smile.
Claire, she said.
We need to talk. I walked into the dining room. I did not sit down. I stood across from her. The table was between us. The same table where Leo had eaten his oatmeal that morning. The same table where I had laid out the trust documents. The same table where I had decided to fight. I have nothing to say to you, I said. Eleanor laughed. It was the same small laugh. The champagne cork laugh. You think you can do this, you think you can take me to court, you think you can win. I know I can win, I said. I have the evidence. Eleanor stepped closer. She put her hand on the back of a chair. Her fingers were tight. The knuckles were white. You will not win, she said. You will never win. I will fight you until I have nothing left. I will make sure you regret this. I will make sure you regret every single thing you've done. I looked at her. I looked at her wrinkled hands. I looked at her stiff hair. I looked at her cold eyes. I thought about the gravy boat. I thought about the warped ramp. I thought about the years I had spent trying to make her like me. I thought about the years I had spent failing. I already regret one thing, I said. I regret not doing this sooner. Eleanor's face went red. She opened her mouth. I did not wait for her to speak. I walked to the front door. I opened it. I held it open. Get out of my house, I said. Get out of my house before I call the police. She glared at me. She walked to the door. She stopped next to me. She was close enough that I could smell her perfume. It was Chanel. It was expensive. It smelled like power. This is not over, she said. No, I said. It's not. But you're going to lose. You're just too arrogant to see it. She walked out. She got in the black sedan. The engine started. The car pulled away. I closed the door. I leaned my forehead against the wood. I breathed. In and out. In and out. My hands were shaking. My knees were weak. I did not fall. I walked back to the living room. Leo was watching me.
Helen was watching me.
I looked at them. I smiled. It was a real smile.
She's gone, I said.
She won't be back.
Leo looked at me.
Mom, he said. What did you do? I knelt down in front of him. I took his hands. I held them in mine. I started the fight, I said. I started it, and I'm not going to stop. Not until you get everything you deserve. Not until she cannot touch us anymore. I promise you. I promise. He squeezed my hands. His grip was weak, but it was there. It was stronger than before. I felt it. I felt the progress. I felt the fight. I felt the fire in my chest burn brighter. That night, I sat at the kitchen table. I opened my laptop. I opened a new spreadsheet. I labeled it Leo's future. I started typing. I listed every account, every asset, every transfer. I listed every piece of evidence I had. I listed everything I needed. I was not going to stop. I was going to take everything. I was going to take it all. And they would never see me coming. The motion was filed on a Tuesday. I knew the exact time because Patricia sent me a text message at 10:47 a.m. It said, filed. Waiting on response. Stay calm. I stayed calm. I had become very good at staying calm. It was the only thing I had left. The next 3 weeks were a performance. I woke up every morning at 6. I made Leo's oatmeal. I cut his fruit. I helped him with his exercises. I took him to school. I picked him up. I made dinner. I helped him with homework. I watched his chest rise and fall while he slept. I did all of this with a smile on my face. The smile was not fake. It was real. I was happy to do these things. I was happy to be his mother. The performance was not in the care I gave him. The performance was in the silence. The silence about the phone calls I took in the car. The silence about the emails I sent from my office. The silence about the folder I kept in my desk drawer, the one with the gold clasp, the one I was not ready to open yet. Michael came home 3 times. He came home on a Saturday afternoon. He walked through the door like nothing had happened. He kissed my cheek. I felt his lips on my skin. They were dry. They were cold. I did not flinch. I did not move. I stood still and let him kiss me, and I felt nothing. I talked to my mother, he said. He was in the kitchen. He was looking in the refrigerator. He was looking for the leftover pot roast. I had thrown it away. She said, you filed something. Some kind of court thing. I was washing dishes. I did not turn around. It's a motion to freeze the trust account. He closed the refrigerator door. He was quiet. I heard him walk toward me. I felt his hand on my back. Claire, he said. What are you doing? I turned off the water. I dried my hands on a towel. I turned to face him. He looked tired. He looked old. He looked like a man who had not slept well in years. I did not feel sorry for him. I'm protecting our son, I said. I'm doing what you should have done. I'm doing what you never did. He blinked. He opened his mouth. He closed it. He looked at the floor. I don't know what you think you know. I know everything, I said. I know about the transfers. I know about the education fund. I know about the accounts you didn't tell me about. I know about the money your mother has been funneling to you for years. I know you've been hiding it. I know you've been lying. He looked up. His eyes were wide. They were wet. He was going to cry. I had seen him cry twice in 17 years. Once when his father died. Once when Leo was diagnosed. I had held him both times. I had held him and told him it would be okay. I was not going to hold him now.
Claire, he said.
His voice cracked. You don't understand. My mother.
She just wanted to help.
She just wanted to make sure the money went to the right places. The right places, I repeated. The right places. Leo is your son. He is your only child. He is in a wheelchair. He needs that money for his medical care. He needs it for his future.
And you let your mother take it.
You let her give it to your sister's kids. You let her give it to your cousins. You let her give it to everyone except your own son. He opened his mouth. No words came out. Get out, I said. Get out of this house. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to look at you. I want you to leave, and I want you to stay gone.
He left.
He walked to the door.
He stopped.
He looked back. I love you, he said. I laughed. It was a short laugh. It was not a happy laugh. No, I said. You don't. You love the idea of me. You love the idea of a wife who would take care of everything. You love the idea of a mother who would handle all the difficult parts. You never loved me. You never loved Leo. You never even saw us. He walked out.
The door closed.
I locked it. I leaned against it. I breathed.
He counted to 10.
I went to Leo's room. He was awake. He was sitting up in bed. He was looking at the door. Was that Dad? He asked. Yes, I said. Is he coming back? No, I said. Leo nodded. He picked up his dinosaur. It was a T-Rex.
It was plastic.
It was missing an arm. He had loved it for 10 years. He held it in his hands. I don't want him to come back, he said. He makes you sad. I sat down on his bed. I put my hand on his knee. He doesn't make me sad, I said. He used to, but he doesn't anymore. He just makes me tired. Are you going to keep fighting? Yes, I said. I'm going to keep fighting until it's over. Okay, he said. I'm going to go to sleep now. He lay down. I pulled the covers up to his chin. I turned off the light. I stood in the doorway and watched him breathe. His chest rose and fell. It rose and fell. I counted. 15 breaths. Normal.
Good.
I closed the door. In the mornings I went to work. I saw clients. I balanced ledgers. I smiled. I nodded. I listened to their problems. I filed their taxes. I was good at my job. I was so good at my job that nobody noticed I was also doing other things. I was making copies of documents. I was scanning receipts. I was emailing Patricia. I was building a case. I was building a fortress. I went to the bank. I sat down with a woman named Susan. She had been my banker for 8 years. She had helped me open my first business account. She knew my face. She knew my name. She trusted me. I needed her trust. I need a new account, I said. A separate account. In my name only. Susan looked at me. She was a kind woman. She had 3 children. She had a husband who was a plumber. She had a golden retriever. I knew all of this because she told me stories while she processed my deposits.
Claire, she said.
Is everything okay? Everything is fine, I said. I just need to start saving separately.
For my son.
For his future. She nodded. She did not ask more questions. She opened the account. She handed me the paperwork. I signed it. I signed it with my own name. Claire Bennett. Not Claire and Michael. Just Claire. The ink was black. The pen was cheap. It did not smudge. I transferred $50,000 from our joint savings account. It was half of what we had. I was entitled to half. I knew that. Patricia had confirmed it. I would not touch the rest. I would not touch Michael's half. I just needed to protect mine. I needed to protect Leo's. I did not feel guilty. I did not feel anything except a small sense of relief. It was like putting on a seatbelt. It was like locking a door. I went to the courthouse. I filed for a legal separation. I did it quietly. I did it without telling anyone. The clerk was a young man. He had a nose ring.
He did not look at me.
He took my papers. He stamped them. He handed me a receipt. I put the receipt in my wallet. I walked out. I did not look back. I went to Leo's school. I met with his caseworker. Her name was Donna. She had kind eyes. She had a daughter who was also in a wheelchair. She understood things that other people did not understand. She understood the paperwork. She understood the insurance. She understood the constant, grinding effort of keeping a disabled child alive and well in a system that did not care. I need to make sure Leo's medical records are up to date, I said. I need copies of everything. I need the records from his primary care. I need the records from his specialist. I need the records from the physical therapist. I need everything you have. Donna looked at me.
She did not ask why. She did not need to ask.
She had seen this before. She had seen mothers do this. She had done it herself. I'll have them ready by Friday, she said. I'll make copies. I'll put them in a folder. Thank you, I said.
Claire, she said.
She touched my arm. Her hand was warm. Is there anything else you need? I shook my head.
No, I said.
I just need to protect him. That's all I ever needed. I went home. I made dinner. I ate dinner with Leo. We watched a movie. It was an old movie. It was a comedy.
Leo laughed.
His laugh was soft.
It was a good sound.
I wanted to hear it more. I wanted to hear it forever. I would do anything to hear it forever. That night, I opened my laptop. I opened the spreadsheet. I added the new account. I added the separation filing. I added the medical records request. I added the evidence. I added everything. The spreadsheet was getting long. It was getting detailed. It was getting dangerous. I saved it. I named it Leo's Future. I put it in a folder. I put the folder on a flash drive. I hid the flash drive in my desk drawer. I locked the drawer. I slept well that night. I did not dream. I woke up at 6. I made oatmeal. I cut fruit. I helped Leo with his exercises. I took him to school. I went to work. I smiled. I nodded. I listened. I filed taxes. I was invisible. I was a ghost. I was a ghost who was building a case that Michael called. I did not answer. He left a voicemail. His voice was tired. Claire, please.
We need to talk.
My mother is furious. She's going to fight you. She's going to fight you hard. I don't want to see you get hurt. I don't want to see Leo get hurt.
Please.
Just talk to me. I deleted the voicemail. I blocked his number that Eleanor called. I did not answer. She left a voicemail. Her voice was sharp. Claire, you are making a huge mistake.
This is not just about money.
This is about family. This is about loyalty. You are destroying this family. You are destroying everything your father-in-law worked for. If you have any decency left in you, you will stop this. You will stop this now. I deleted the voicemail. I blocked her number. I went to the mailbox. There was a letter. It was from Eleanor's lawyer. It was thick. It was official. I opened it. It was a cease and desist. It was a threat. It was Eleanor trying to scare me. I did not get scared. I got angry. I got calm. I put the letter in the folder. I drove to Patricia's office. Patricia read the letter. She set it down.
She's trying to intimidate you, she said.
It won't work. I've seen this before. They try to scare you. They try to make you think you're going to lose. You're not going to lose. Are you sure? I asked. I was not scared. I was just tired. I was tired of fighting. I was tired of the constant, grinding effort. I was tired of being invisible. I was tired of being alone. I'm sure, Patricia said. I've reviewed everything. Your evidence is strong. Your case is strong. Eleanor has overstepped. She has violated her fiduciary duty. She has stolen from your son. The court will not look kindly on that. You are going to win. You just need to be patient. I nodded. I took the letter. I put it back in the folder. I drove home. I made dinner. I ate dinner with Leo. We played a board game.
He won.
He smiled. I smiled. I was patient. I could be patient. I had been patient for 17 years. I could be patient a little longer. The Christmas party was in 2 weeks. Patricia had told me to wait. She had told me to stay quiet. She had told me to let the legal process work. I wanted to wait. I wanted to be patient. I wanted to do it the right way. But I also wanted to do it my way. I wanted to do it in front of everyone. I wanted Eleanor to feel what I had felt. I wanted her to feel the eyes on her. I wanted her to hear the silence. I wanted her to know what it was like to be pointed at. I started planning. I wrote down every detail. The country club was called Riverside. It had a ballroom. It had a stage. It had a microphone. I knew the manager. His name was Ted. He was a good man. He had helped me plan the previous Christmas parties. I called him. Ted, I said, I need to reserve a table. For the Christmas party. The one on the 15th. Of course, Claire, he said. How many people? Just 2, I said. Me and my son. 2, he repeated. No, Michael, I said. Just the 2 of us.
He paused.
He did not ask questions. He was a professional. I'll put you down for table 12, he said. Near the stage. Good view. Perfect, I said and I hung up the phone. I looked at the calendar. 15 days. I had 15 days to get everything ready. I opened the folder. I took out the leather portfolio. I started organizing. I put the trust documents in the left pocket. I put the bank statements in the right pocket. I put the emails in the middle. I put the separation papers in the back. I put the motion to freeze the trust in the front. I zipped it closed. I held the portfolio in my hands. It was heavy. It was solid. It was the truth. I was going to carry it into that ballroom. I was going to open it in front of everyone. I was going to show Eleanor exactly what she had done. I was going to show Michael exactly what he had allowed. I was going to show everyone who had sat at that table and looked away. I put the portfolio on the kitchen table. I made a cup of tea. I sat down. I drank it. The tea was hot. It burned my tongue. I did not care. I was calm. I was ready. I was going to win. I was going to win because I had to. There was no other option. There was no other path. There was only this. Leo came into the kitchen. He was in his wheelchair. He rolled up to the table. He looked at the portfolio. What's that? He asked. It's a surprise, I said. For Grandma.
He looked at me.
His eyes were dark. They were steady. Is it a good surprise? He asked, and I smiled. It's the best surprise, I said. It's the surprise she's been waiting for her whole life. He nodded. He did not ask more questions. He rolled back to the living room. He turned on the television. I heard the sounds of a cartoon. I heard his soft laugh. I sat at the table. I looked at the portfolio. I touched the gold clasp. I thought about the night of the party. I thought about the faces. I thought about the silence. I thought about the moment when I would stand up and speak. I thought about the moment when everything would change. I was not scared. I was not nervous. I was not angry. I was just ready. I was ready to end it. I was ready to take everything back. I was ready to win. I was ready to win for Leo. I was ready to win for me. I was ready to win because I had been patient long enough. Patience was over. The night of the Christmas party was cold. Not the kind of cold that makes you shiver. The kind of cold that sits in your bones and waits. I felt it in my fingertips as I fastened the gold clasp on the leather portfolio. I felt it in my jaw as I helped Leo into his dark blue sweater. I felt it in my chest as I drove through the gates of the Riverside Country Club. The cold was not the weather.
The cold was inside me.
It had been there since Thanksgiving. It was not going anywhere. The valet recognized me. His name was Marcus. He had worked at the club for 10 years. He had seen me at a dozen Christmas parties. He looked at Leo's wheelchair. He looked at me. He did not hesitate. Good evening, Mrs. Bennett, he said. I'll take good care of your car.
Thank you, Marcus, I said.
I handed him a $50 bill. He took it. He nodded. He did not look at the money. He looked at my face. He saw something there. I did not know what. I did not care. That I pushed Leo through the lobby. The garlands were up. The white lights were twinkling. The Christmas tree was 20 feet tall. It had silver ornaments. It was the same tree. It was the same lobby. It was the same club. It was not the same woman. The ballroom was full. I counted the tables. There were 24. I had been to enough of these parties to know the seating chart by heart. Eleanor was at the head table. She was with her friends. She was wearing a red dress with gold sequins. She was holding a glass of champagne. She was laughing. Her head was thrown back. Her silver hair was stiff.
Her teeth were white.
She looked like a woman who had never lost a thing in her life. I pushed Leo toward table 12. It was near the stage. The stage was small. It had a microphone. It was used for announcements. It was used for the raffle. It was going to be used for something else tonight. We sat down. Leo looked around. His eyes were wide. "This is fancy," he said. "It is," I said. "But it's just a room. Just a room with people in it. Don't let them make you feel small." "I won't," he said. He looked at me. His eyes were steady. He was not scared. He was not nervous. He was just tired. He was always tired. But he was not small. He had never been small. He was bigger than all of them. He just did not know it yet. The dinner started. The rubber chicken. The green beans. The mashed potatoes. The rolls. The butter. I cut Leo's chicken into small pieces. I put them on his plate. I watched him eat. His arms shook. The fork wobbled. A piece of chicken fell. I picked it up. I put it back. He blinked. I pretended I had not seen. Eleanor came to our table. She did it with a smile. She did it with her champagne glass. She did it with her friends watching. She wanted to make a show of it. She wanted to show everyone that she was the bigger person. She wanted to show everyone that she had forgiven me. She had not forgiven me. She was not capable of forgiveness. She was only capable of performance. "Claire," she said.
"Lay."
"I'm so glad you could make it." I looked up at her. I did not smile. We would not have missed it. She leaned down. She put her hand on my shoulder. Her fingers were cold. They were bony. They pressed into my skin. "I hope you're enjoying yourself." "I am," I said. "I've been looking forward to this all month." She straightened up. She laughed. It was the champagne cork laugh. It was brittle. It was sharp. "Well, enjoy the rest of your evening. The raffle is at 9. You might win something." She walked away. I watched her go. I watched her red dress swish. I watched her gold sequins catch the light. I watched her sit down at the head table. I watched her take a sip of champagne. I watched her smile at her friends. She was a queen. She was a queen on a throne. She did not know the throne was about to be taken away. I opened the portfolio. I took out the documents. I arranged them on the table. The trust document. The bank statements. The emails. The separation papers. The motion to freeze. I put them in order. I put them in the order I would need them. I closed the portfolio. I waited. The dinner ended. The plates were cleared. The coffee was served. The raffle was announced. The manager, Ted, stepped up to the microphone. He tapped it. It made a squeaking sound.
He laughed.
"Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Riverside Country Club Christmas party. We have some wonderful raffle prizes tonight. But before we get to that, we have a special announcement. Eleanor Bennett, our chairwoman, would like to say a few words." The crowd applauded. Eleanor stood up. She walked to the stage. She was graceful. She was practiced. She took the microphone. She smiled.
"Thank you, Ted."
"Thank you, everyone. It has been a wonderful year. We have raised a lot of money for the club. We have had a lot of fun. I want to thank all of you for your support. You make this club what it is."
She paused.
She looked out at the crowd. Her eyes found me. They found me at table 12. They flickered. They did not linger. She looked away. I also want to say something personal. Family is important. Family is the most important thing. We have had some challenges this year,
But we are still a family. We are still together.
and that is what matters. I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor. It made a sound like a scream. The crowd turned.
The crowd looked at me.
I did not care. I walked to the stage. I walked up the steps. The portfolio was in my hand. The gold clasp was cold against my palm. Eleanor looked at me. Her smile did not waver. Her eyes narrowed. They were the only thing on her face that moved.
"Claire," she said.
What are you doing? I want to say something, I said. She handed me the microphone. She had no choice. She was the chairwoman. She was on stage. She could not make a scene. She could not refuse. She stepped back. She crossed her arms. She watched me. I faced the crowd. My throat was tight. My hands were shaking. I put the portfolio on the podium. I opened it. I took out the trust document. My name is Claire Bennett, I said. I am the mother of Leo Bennett. Leo is 14 years old. He has a rare neurological condition. He has been in a wheelchair for 3 years, 11 months, and 8 days. The crowd was silent. I could hear the ice melting in the glasses. I could hear the hum of the air conditioning. I could hear my own breath. It was steady. It was calm. On Thanksgiving night, my mother-in-law, Eleanor Bennett, pointed at my son and told him to eat in the kitchen. She said his condition made the guests uncomfortable. My husband, Michael Bennett, passed the gravy and said nothing. I stood up. I wheeled my son out. I never came back to that table. I held up the trust document. But that was not the only thing Eleanor did. She is the trustee of a family trust that was meant to provide for all the grandchildren. My son was supposed to be one of those grandchildren. But Eleanor decided otherwise. She has been transferring money out of his share. She has been giving it to other grandchildren. She has been doing it for years. I held up the bank statements. I have the evidence. I have the statements. I have the emails. I have the transfers. I have everything. Eleanor stepped forward. Her face was red. Her hands were fists. That is a lie, she said. That is a complete and utter lie. I turned to her. I looked at her. I looked at her red dress. I looked at her gold sequins. I looked at her stiff hair. I looked at her cold eyes. Is it a lie? I asked. Is it a lie that you transferred $62,000 to your daughter's account? Is it a lie that you transferred $43,000 to an education fund that does not have my son's name on it? Is it a lie that you signed documents that gave you sole discretion over a trust that was supposed to be split equally? She opened her mouth. No words came out. I held up the emails. I also have emails. I have emails from Michael's account. I have an email from you that says, and I quote, Leo's condition is not improving. The money would be better used for the other grandchildren. They have futures. The crowd gasped. It was a collective sound. It was a sound I would remember forever. Eleanor's face went white. She stumbled back. She grabbed the podium. Her fingers were shaking. That was private, she said. That was a private conversation. Nothing is private when it's about stealing from a child, I said. Nothing is private when it's about stealing from your own grandson. I turned back to the crowd. I have filed a motion to freeze the trust. I have filed a motion to have Eleanor removed as trustee. I have filed for a legal separation from my husband. I have done all of this to protect my son. I have done all of this because nobody else would. Michael stood up. He was at a table in the back. He was wearing a gray suit. He looked pale. He looked like he was going to be sick. Claire, he said.
His voice was weak.
Claire, please. Please stop. I looked at him. I looked at the man I had married. I looked at the man who had passed the gravy. I looked at the man who had not said a word. You were supposed to protect him, I said. You were supposed to be his father. You were supposed to stand up for him. You never did. You let your mother do this. You let her steal from him. You knew about it. You knew about it and you did nothing. Michael sat down. He put his head in his hands. He did not say another word. Eleanor found her voice. It was sharp. It was broken. You will regret this, she said. You will regret this for the rest of your life. You have destroyed this family. You have destroyed everything. No, I said. I didn't destroy it. You did. You destroyed it the night you pointed at my son. You destroyed it when you decided he was not worth the same money. You destroyed it when you decided your other grandchildren had futures and he did not. I held up the final document. It was the petition. I am filing this tomorrow. I am going to win. I am going to win because I have the truth on my side. I have the evidence. I have the law. And I have my son. I have my son, and that is all I need. I put the documents back in the portfolio. I closed the gold clasp. I walked down the steps. I walked past Eleanor. I walked past Michael. I walked past the crowd. They parted. They let me through. I did not look back. Leo was at the table. He was sitting in his wheelchair.
He was looking at me.
His eyes were wide. They were wet. Mom, he said. That was amazing. Amazing, I repeated. I knelt down. I took his hands. I did it for you. I did it for us. Are you okay? I was not okay. I was shaking. My knees were weak. My palms were sweating. I was not okay. But I was not okay in a way that felt like victory. I was not okay in a way that felt like I had finally done something right. I'm going to be okay, I said. We're going to be okay. We're going to be just fine. I pushed him toward the door. The lobby was quiet. The garlands were still twinkling. The tree was still tall. The silver ornaments were still shining. I pushed him through the lobby. I pushed him through the doors. The cold air hit my face. It felt good. It felt clean. Marcus brought the car. He opened the door. He helped Leo into the passenger seat. He put the wheelchair in the trunk. He looked at me. Mrs. Bennet, he said. Are you all right? I'm fine, I said. I've never been better. He nodded. He did not believe me. He did not need to believe me. He held the door. I got in the car. I started the engine. I pulled out of the driveway. The gravel crunched under the tires. I drove away from the Riverside Country Club. I drove away from the party. I drove away from Eleanor. I drove away from Michael. I drove away from all of it. Leo was quiet. He had his head against the window. The glass fogged with his breath. He was looking at the Christmas lights. They were twinkling. They were red and green and gold. They were everywhere. They were beautiful. Mom, he said. Are we going back? No, I said. To the club. We're not going back, baby. To the house. The house is still there. But we're not going back to the way things were. We're going somewhere new. He nodded. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Where are we going? I looked at the road. I looked at the lights. I looked at my son. I thought about the portfolio on the passenger seat. I thought about the documents inside. I thought about the fight I had just started. I thought about the fight I had just won. I don't know yet, I said. But we're going to find out. Together. I drove home. The house was dark. I helped Leo into his bed. I tucked him in. I kissed his forehead. His skin was warm. His breath was shallow. I stood in the doorway and watched him breathe. His chest rose and fell. It rose and fell. I counted. 15 breaths. Normal. Good. I went to the kitchen. I opened the portfolio. I looked at the documents. I read them again. I read the trust document. I read the bank statements. I read the emails. I read the petition. I read everything. I read it all. I read it until my eyes were dry. I read it until my hands stopped shaking. I closed the portfolio. I locked it in the drawer. I went to bed. I lay on my back. I stared at the ceiling. The ceiling was white. It had no cracks. It was a clean ceiling. I thought about Eleanor. I thought about her face. I thought about her red dress. I thought about her cold eyes. I thought about the moment she realized she had lost. I closed my eyes. I smiled. It was a small smile.
It was a real smile.
I was tired. I was exhausted. I was empty. But I was also victorious. I was victorious in a way that I had never been before. I had done something. I had done something right. I had done something for my son. I had done something for myself. I fell asleep. I did not dream. I woke up at 6. The sun was not up. The sky was dark. I lay in bed for a long time. I thought about the future. I thought about the legal process. I thought about the fight that was still ahead. I thought about Eleanor. I thought about Michael. I thought about Leo. My son. The boy in the wheelchair. The boy who had been pointed at. The boy who had been told to eat in the kitchen. The boy who had made people uncomfortable. The boy who was going to win. The boy who was going to win everything. The boy who was going to have a future. The boy who was going to have everything he deserved. I got out of bed. I walked to his room. He was still asleep. His chest was rising and falling. It was rising and falling. I stood in the doorway. I watched him breathe. I counted. 15 breaths. Normal. Good. I whispered. I whispered into the dark. I'm going to win, I said. I'm going to win. I'm going to win for you. The legal process took 6 months. That was the part nobody told you about. The victory on the stage was one night. The victory in the courtroom was another. The victory in the bank account was another. The victory in my son's future was the only one that mattered. I sat in Patricia's office and waited. I sat in the courthouse and waited. I sat at my kitchen table and waited. I had gotten very good at waiting. Patricia filed the petition the morning after the Christmas party. She filed it with a smile. She filed it with a stack of evidence that was 4 inches thick. She filed it with a letter that outlined every single transfer Eleanor had made, every single email she had sent, every single violation of her fiduciary duty. The letter was 12 pages long. I had read it twice. I had memorized it. I had memorized every word that Eleanor fought. She fought hard. She hired a lawyer. He was a man named Harold Finch. He was old.
He was gray.
He had glasses that sat on the tip of his nose. He looked like a man who had seen everything. He looked like a man who was not surprised by anything. He was not surprised by me. He was not surprised by the evidence. He was not surprised by the trust document. He was not surprised by the bank statements. He was not surprised by the emails. He was not surprised by anything. He was surprised by the subpoena for Michael's accounts. Patricia had filed it quietly. She had filed it without telling me. She had filed it because she knew something I did not know. She knew Michael had accounts I had never seen. She knew he had been hiding money for years. She found them. She found the accounts. She found the transfers. She found the evidence. The deposition was held in a conference room. I sat next to Patricia. Eleanor sat across the table. Harold Finch sat next to her. Michael was in the back of the room. He was not sitting at the table. He was sitting in a chair against the wall. He was wearing a gray suit. He looked smaller than I remembered. He looked like a man who had been shrinking for years. Eleanor was sworn in. She took the oath. She put her hand on the Bible. She promised to tell the truth. She promised to tell the whole truth. She promised to tell nothing but the truth. She was a liar. She had always been a liar. The oath did not change her. Patricia started the questions. Mrs. Bennet, do you acknowledge that you are the sole trustee of the family trust established by your late husband? Eleanor folded her hands. Yes. Do you acknowledge that the trust was established to provide for all of his grandchildren equally? The trust was established to provide for the family. The word equally was not used in the original document. Patricia did not flinch. She pulled out a copy of the original trust document. She had found it. She had found it in the probate court records. She had found it because she was thorough. She held it up. I have the original trust document here. It was signed by your husband. It states, in plain language, that the assets are to be divided equally among all living grandchildren. Would you like to read it? Eleanor looked at the document. Her face was pale. Her lips were tight. That document was drafted before Leo was born, before his condition was known. His condition is irrelevant, Patricia said. The document states, all living grandchildren. Leo is a living grandchild. He is a grandchild. He is entitled to an equal share. You have diverted more than half of his share to other accounts. You have transferred money to accounts for children who are not named in the trust. You have violated the trust. You have violated the law. Eleanor did not answer. She looked at her lawyer. He nodded. He did not tell her to speak. He did not tell her to fight. He told her to be quiet. She was quiet. Patricia pulled out another document. It was a bank statement. It was from Michael's hidden account. Mrs. Bennet, do you recognize this account number? Eleanor looked at the statement. Her eyes narrowed. I do not. Patricia pulled out another document. It was a transfer record. This is a transfer from the trust account to this account. It is dated 2 years ago. The amount is $34,000. The transfer was authorized by you. The account belongs to your son, Michael Bennet. Do you deny this? Eleanor's face went white. She looked at Michael. He was looking at the floor. He was not looking at her. He was not looking at anyone. He was looking at the floor, like it was the most interesting thing in the world. Patricia turned to Michael. Mr. Bennet, Would you like to explain this account? Michael did not answer. He stood up. He walked out of the room. He walked out without saying a word. He walked out like he had walked out of my house. He walked out like he had walked out of my life. The deposition continued. Eleanor answered questions. She denied everything. She said she did not remember. She said she had acted in good faith. She said she had only wanted to help. She said she was thinking of the family. She said she was thinking of everyone. She said she was thinking of anyone but the boy in the wheelchair. The judge ruled in my favor. It was a formal ruling. It was a legal ruling. It was a ruling that stated, in plain language, that Eleanor had violated her fiduciary duty. She was removed as trustee. She was ordered to repay the full amount she had transferred. She was ordered to pay my legal fees. She was ordered to pay interest she did not pay. She did not pay because she could not pay. She did not pay because she had spent the money. She had spent it on vacations. She had spent it on cars. She had spent it on the education fund for her other grandchildren. She had spent it on everything except the one person who needed it. The court forced her to liquidate assets. She lost the vacation home in Hilton Head. She lost a rental property in Savannah. She lost a significant portion of her retirement account. She fought the liquidation. She fought it hard. She fought it until there was nothing left to fight. Michael was not part of the case. He was not named in the petition. He was not named in the judgment. He was not named in anything. But he lost too. He lost his marriage. He lost his son. He lost the house. The house was sold. The proceeds were split. I took my half. I took my half, and I put it in Leo's account. I put it in the account that was in my name only. I put it in the account that would never be touched by anyone else. I moved Leo and me into a smaller house. It was a ranch house. It had wide doorways. It had a ramp that was not warped. It had a yard where Leo could sit in the sun. It was not a big house. It was not a fancy house. It was a house that was ours. It was a house that belonged to no one else. Leo started high school. He had a tutor. He had a physical therapist. He had a caseworker named Donna. He had a life. It was not the life I had imagined for him. It was not the life I had imagined for myself. It was a life that was harder than I had ever expected, but it was a life that was ours. I worked from home. I still saw clients. I still balanced ledgers. I still filed taxes. I was still good at my job. I was still invisible. But I was invisible by choice now. I did not want to be seen. I did not want to be noticed. I just wanted to be left alone. Eleanor died 3 years later. It was a stroke. She had it at the country club. She was at a dinner. She was wearing a red dress. She was holding a glass of champagne. She collapsed. She never woke up. I did not go to the funeral. I did not send flowers. I did not send a card.
I did not feel anything.
I did not feel sad. I did not feel relieved. I did not feel guilty. I felt nothing. It was the first time in years that I had felt nothing. Michael remarried. He married a woman named Susan. She was a real estate agent. She had 2 children. She had a daughter. She had a son. They looked like they were happy. They looked like they were a family. I did not care. I did not think about Michael. I did not think about him at all. Leo asked me about him. He asked me on a Sunday afternoon. We were sitting in the yard. The sun was warm. The grass was green. Leo was in his wheelchair. He was watching the birds. He was watching them fly. He was watching them land. He was watching them leave. "Mom," he said, "do you ever miss Dad?" I was quiet for a long time. I thought about the question. I thought about the answer. I thought about Michael. I thought about his hands. I thought about the way he passed the gravy. I thought about the way he walked out of the deposition room. I thought about the way he walked out of my life. "No," I said. "I don't miss him. I miss the idea of him. I miss the idea of a husband. I miss the idea of a family. But I don't miss him. He was never the man I thought he was. He was never the man I needed him to be." Leo nodded. He was quiet. He watched the birds. "I don't miss him either," he said. I used to miss him a lot. But I stopped. I stopped because he never came back. He never called. He never visited. He never sent a card. He just left.
I know, I said.
I know, baby. Do you think he regrets it? I thought about it. I thought about Michael. I thought about his gray suit. I thought about the floor he looked at. I thought about the door he walked out of. I don't know, I said. I don't think he does. I think he was never capable of regret. He was never capable of feeling anything. He just existed. He just let things happen. He never made anything happen. He never fought for anything. Leo looked at me. His eyes were dark. They were steady. You fought, he said. You fought for me. You never stopped fighting. I never will, I said. I will never stop fighting for you. You are the only thing that matters. You are the only thing that has ever mattered. He reached out. His hand shook. He put it on my cheek. His fingers were cold. They were always cold. I leaned into them. I closed my eyes. I felt his hand on my face. I felt his breath. I felt his heartbeat. It was slow. It was steady. It was strong. I opened my eyes. I looked at him. I looked at the boy in the wheelchair. The boy who had been pointed at. The boy who had been told to eat in the kitchen. The boy who had made people uncomfortable. You are the strongest person I know, I said. You have been through so much. You have never complained. You have never given up. You have never let them win. You are the strongest person I have ever met. He smiled. It was a real smile. It was a smile that touched his eyes. I learned it from you, he said. I learned everything from you. I sat in the yard. I watched the birds. I watched the trees. I watched my son. I thought about the path I had walked. I thought about the journey I had taken. I thought about the fight I had won. I thought about the cost, that the cost was high. I had lost my marriage. I had lost my husband. I had lost my in-laws. I had lost the extended family. I had lost the holidays. I had lost the gatherings. I had lost the idea of a normal life. I had lost the idea of a normal family, but I had gained something too. I had gained my son. I had gained his future. I had gained his security. I had gained his trust. I had gained his love. I had gained my own strength. I had gained my own voice. I had gained my own power. I looked at Leo. I looked at the boy who was going to inherit everything I had fought for. I looked at the boy who was going to have a future. I looked at the boy who was going to be okay. Leo, I said, do you think I did the right thing? He looked at me. His eyes were dark. They were steady. You did the only thing you could do, he said. You protected me. You stood up for me. You never let them win. That's all that matters. I nodded. I took his hand. I held it in mine. His grip was weak.
It was stronger than it had been.
It was progress. We measured progress in tiny increments. A half-second longer on the grip. A fork that did not fall. A breath that did not stutter.
I looked at the sky. It was blue.
It was clear. There were no clouds. The sun was warm. I felt it on my face. I felt it on my hands. I felt it in my chest. I learned something, I said. I learned that the only person you can really count on is yourself. I learned that the only person who will always be there is you. I learned that you have to fight. You have to fight for what you want. You have to fight for who you love. You have to fight for what is right. Leo squeezed my hand. You taught me that, he said. You taught me everything. I smiled. It was a real smile. It was a smile that touched my eyes. I love you, I said. I love you more than anything. I love you more than I ever thought I could love anyone. I love you more than the sun. I love you more than the sky. I love you more than everything. I love you too, Mom, he said. We sat in the yard. We watched the birds. We watched the trees. We watched the world. The world kept turning. The sun kept shining. The grass kept growing. The birds kept flying. We sat together. We were together. That was all that mattered. The night came. I helped Leo into bed. I tucked him in. I kissed his forehead. His skin was warm. His breath was shallow. I stood in the doorway. I watched him breathe. His chest rose and fell. It rose and fell. I counted. 15 breaths. Normal. Good. I walked to the kitchen. I made a cup of tea. I sat at the table. I looked at the empty chair across from me. I thought about the past. I thought about the future. I thought about the present. I thought about the tea in my hands. It was hot. It was warm. It was good. I looked at the wall. There was a picture on it. It was a picture of Leo. He was 3 years old. He was standing. He was laughing. He was holding a toy dinosaur. He was healthy. He was whole. He was not in a wheelchair. I looked at the picture. I felt the sting in my eyes. I blinked. I did not cry, but I closed my eyes. I thought about the moment I had stood up at the Thanksgiving table. I thought about the moment I had pushed Leo's wheelchair out the door. I thought about the moment I had never looked back. I opened my eyes. I looked at the picture. I looked at my son. I smiled. I would do it again, I said. I would do it all again. I would stand up. I would will him out. I would never come back to that table. I would never come back to any of it. I set down the tea. I stood up. I walked to the door. I opened it. The night air was cold. It was crisp. It was clean. I breathed it in. I breathed it out, but I thought about the future. I did not know what it held. I did not know where I was going. I did not know what would happen. I did not know anything. But I knew one thing. I knew I had done the right thing. I knew I had protected my son. I knew I had given him a future. I knew I had given him everything. I closed the door. I locked it. I went to bed. I lay on my back. I stared at the ceiling. It was white. It was clean. It had no cracks. I closed my eyes. I slept. I did not dream. What would you have done in my shoes? Drop your verdict in the comments. And if you want to hear more stories about women who fought back and won, subscribe to the channel.